Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Capital G with new EDH deck tech for you. We are looking at real name Nethroi, Apex of Death. Alternate name Biolante, Plant Beast Form. Depends if you are a kaiju fan or not. But let's just call him Nethroi for the purpose of this video. Where do I get the pronunciation from? Well, being a French-Canadian, Nef, that's pretty straightforward. In R-O-I, we pronounce Wa, and Wa is French for king. So, I prefer Nethroi as a name compared to Biolante, but that's just me. One thing that there's no doubt about is the power level of this guy. It says here green, black, white, and 2 generic, giving us a 5/5 with Death Touch and Lifelink. Ignore that bit. What we care about is the Mutate, which is 4 generic, a Selesnya, and 2 black mana. And whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Super powerful effect. If you manage to hit that Mutate, chances are you're basically paying 7 mana to win the game. Usually with some sort of combo such as probably Mike And Trike. Because then Hollow, Triskelion, pay your 7 mana, you get both of them back from your graveyard and combo off infinite damage that way. You could probably do the Heliod combo as well. So yeah, for 7 mana, you're getting back your combo pieces. I did not put those game-winning combos in here. I wanted a more casual take, and I'll show you the inspiration for this Mutate themed deck. So, unfortunately, because of the way Cockatrice is formatted, I can't really sort the cards the way I wanted to sort them. The good news is the creatures I want to highlight as my Mutate targets are all Phantoms. For those that may not have been playing when Judgment came out, Phantoms are creatures that are 0 toughness, often 0 power, but they enter the battlefield with a certain number of +1/+1 counters on it, and if any amount of damage would be dealt to these creatures, you simply remove a +1/+1 counter instead. So for example, the Phantom Centaur would need to be damaged at least 3 times before this would disappear from the battlefield. Now the fun thing about this is if you mutate a creature onto these Phantom creatures, then even when you run out of +1/+1 counters, you'd still prevent all the damage dealt to that creature. So that's the idea there. The replacement effect still happens. All because there's no +1/+1 counter to remove doesn't mean the damage is not prevented, because it is still prevented. So we got Phantom Centaur, which is protection from black, so some of our mutate creatures may not be able to target him. So be aware of that when you're playing with Phantom Centaur. But protection from black means he's harder to remove as well. Phantom Flock gives us the Phantom effect and flying. Phantom Nantuko, trample. Only comes in with the 2 counters, but you can actually tap it to add more counters if you have to go that route. Phantom Nishoba, trample, and whenever it deals combat damage, you gain that much life. It's not quite lifelink. You can add lifelink to this and double up, actually. It's got the old wording. So it's actually a trigger rather than the simultaneous effect that lifelink is. Phantom Nomad, same deal, just a 2-drop. Phantom Tiger. It's 3. It has the extra point of power, which is why it has the extra generic mana cost. And Phantom Worm. There weren't a lot of Phantoms in Judgment, so they made one more in Time Spiral. And that's what we're looking at here. Comes into play with 4 counters and 2 extra points of power. Because they're all spirits, by the way, something I decided to throw in is a Selfless Spirit. A way to protect all of those creatures, because they're not going to lose that spirit type. Let's look at some of our other creatures. So, Auspicious Starix, and I love the art on this one. It's 5 mana, mutates for 6, so a rare case of the mutate being more expensive. But whenever this creature mutates, we exile cards from the top of our library until we hit X permanent cards, where X the number of times that this creature has mutated, put those cards onto the battlefield. So it gets us some free cards. Beast Whisperer, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. When you are paying the mutate cost on a creature, it is still a creature spell, therefore we get to draw the card. Boneyard Lurker. Returns a permanent card from our graveyard to our hand. Cavern Whisperer. Hey, when this creature mutates, each opponent discards a card. And it only mutates for 4, so that's pretty efficient. Playing Khazar Ruthless Stalker from Commander 20. Because whenever a creature we control deals combat damage to a player, it gets a +1/+1 counter, so why wouldn't we want more 1/1 counters on our phantoms? Chittering Harvester. When this creature mutates, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Cub Warden. I've already added this to my Arrow deck list, just waiting for the cards to actually come out so I can add it to the deck. Mutates for white, and 2. Grants lifelink, and he also grants us a couple of white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So it gives us, it's a mutate that gives us more targets to mutate. Dirge Bat has flying. Destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. It costs 6 for that mutate effect though. But it does have flash, so we can do it anytime we like. Fiend Artisan. He's a mutate target, and he's just a house. Expect this to be one of the big cards from the set. There's going to be a lot of big cards in this set, I think. But Fiend Artisan expected to be one of the big ones, because it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in our graveyard. So whatever creature we mutate onto this, we'll get that power and toughness boost. But also that Bulgarian X. And sack another creature to search our library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle our library. So this, of course, can go get anything we want. Especially if you're playing with the Mike And Trike combo, this can go get those pieces for you. Angurius, Armoured Killer, also known as Gem Razor. Love that. Just 3 mana for the mutate, and it destroys an artifact or enchantment target opponent controls. Also grants reach and trample. Good abilities there. Glowstone Recluse. Whenever this creature mutates, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Also grants us reach. Hero's Bane. A little off theme. Hydras are another way to basically mutate creatures onto this and make them bigger. So while Hero's Bane doesn't offer the protection that the Phantoms do, it does come into play with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. And we could pay 4 mana to put X +1/+1 counter on the Hero's Bane, where X is its power. So imagine you throw your commander on here, 6/6 with the 4 counters, 10/10 already, and then you start doubling up with that ability. Huntmaster Leisure, also known as King Caesar Ancient Guardian. It's 4 mana, mutates for only 3, but whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +X until the end of turn. So you get a little Anthem effect. Insatiable Hemophage. It's a 3/3 with Death Touch, mutates for only 3 mana. And when this creature mutates, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life for X number of times this creature has mutated. Throw this one onto your Phantom Nishopa. Have some fun with that. Majestic Oricon. When this creature mutates, you gain 4 life. You also get Vigilance. Vigilance is definitely an underrated thing, especially in Commander. But the nice thing with Vigilance is attacks and still stays back to block. Marwin the Nurturer. Again, another mutate payoff card that's not a Phantom. In her case, it's whenever another elf enters the battlefield, we get a 1/1 counter on Marwin. Spoiler alert, there aren't any other elves. But we can mutate a creature onto this and then tap it to add an amount of green mana equal to the mutated creature's power. Migratory Greathorn. Whenever this creature mutates, search our library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. So it gives us some mana fetch in the form of a mutate creature. And even if this is already on the battlefield, you can mutate onto it and go get some lands. Mind Leecher. We basically get to draw cards from our opponent's libraries with this one, so great add here. Also the 5/5 flying is very helpful. Necropanther. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, we want to do that. Some of our Phantoms meet that requirement, as well as other creatures in the deck. Sawtusk Demolisher. Mutates for only 4 mana. It's a 6/6 with trample, and when this creature mutates, we destroy a non-creature permanent. It creates a 3/3 beast creature token, it being the controller of whatever permanent we destroy. So yeah, Beast Within on a mutate, sure. Threw in a Shefrit Monitor for the cycling, because hey, 4 mana to, you know, put a land from our library into play and draw a card. Figured we could use the efficiency, especially since we have some pretty high CMCs in the deck. Skull Prophet. This is going to be a monster in Commander. I mean, taps for green and black. Well, cost of green and black, taps for green or black. It's a human druid. We could also tap to put the top 2 cards of our library into our graveyard, and it's a 3/1. This card is pushed, and this card is, like I said, expect to see this one everywhere. Marin decks, Nethroi decks, so on and so forth. Expect to see this card a lot. Souvenir Snatcher. When this creature mutates, gain control of a non-creature artifact. So hey, you get to steal someone's artifact. The mutated is expensive, but the perks are worth it. This one, of course, from C20. And Vulpiki. Whenever this creature mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it and grants flying. Alright, so those are our creatures. Threw in a couple of enchantments. I threw in a Death's Oasis. Whenever a non-token creature we control dies, we put the top 2 cards of our library into our graveyard. Then return a creature card that costs less to than the creature that died to our hand. It's a little wordy, but the mechanic is actually fairly simple. We can also sacrifice this on a spot for some life gain. Shouldn't have to. And of course, because we're playing with some big mana costs, we definitely want the Smothering Tithe in here. Definitely. Artifacts that was with mana, of course. Arcane Signet, Gilded Lotus. We're playing with a lot of wrap spells, so I'm not playing a lot of mana rocks. Just those 2-3 with the Sol Ring. Oketra's Monument. I put this in here. The white mana reduction, cost reduction affects some of our creatures, not all of them. But it's the trigger that I wanted. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. It doesn't specify a race, just the class. So it's just a 1/1 white warrior. So we can safely assume it's non-human, and therefore we can mutate onto those tokens should we need the targets. Also throw in the Ozloff. Because we are playing with a few cards that grant +1/+1 counters, let's store some of them here should our creatures die. Look at some instants and then our sorceries, starting with Barrier Breach. Exile up to 3 enchantments. There's always enchantments that we're going to want to destroy, or in fact exile entirely. The Smothering Tides, the Rhystic Studies, the Theros Gods. We can cycle it away if we really don't have a target, but honestly, we will always have 1 to 3 targets for this thing. Deadly Rollick. We have a lot of the free spells that you can cast as long as your commander is in play. So this one exiles a creature. We've got Dial Tactics here to exile a creature. If we don't control a human, we'll lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So be it. We'll take that life loss because, hey, 2 mana, exile a creature. No other consequence, I'll take that. Flawless Maneuver to grant our indestructibility to our team. We can do that for 3 mana, or we can do it for the freeze if our commander is in play. Fracturing Gust. You notice I don't have a lot of artifacts or enchantments because we've got this guy here that blows them all up. All of them. For triple Selesnya and 2 generic. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Gain 2 life for each permanent destroyed this way. Heartless Act. Great removal spell. Destroys a creature without any counters, or removes 3 counters from a creature. Either way, very flexible card. Love it. Mercy Killing. I first discovered this card when I was building my Kenrith deck, and got to use this a couple of times, and it is a very effective card. I like it. Target creature's controller sacrifices it and puts X 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature tokens into play, where X that creature's power Hey, I'm only just realizing now that it's an elf. Does our Marwin care if it's a token or not? No, it doesn't. So it actually synergizes with Marwin. Sweet. Accidental synergies. I love them. Mythos of Nethroi. Destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature for 3 mana. So 3 mana, any creature. Or if we manage to spend white and green while casting the spell, we can destroy any non-land permanent. So creatures only if we don't have all our colors, but any permanent we want to have destroyed if we have our colors. Obscuring Haze. If we control our commander, we get to prevent all damage that would be dealt this turn by creatures our opponents control, so we can blow somebody out with this free spell. And Return of the Wild Speaker. We're no humans in the deck, so we can either get our pump or we can get our card draw. Either way, super effective. Still a favorite of mine from Eldraine. And sorceries. It doesn't matter if you're playing this deck casually or competitively. You need Buried Alive in this deck. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them into the graveyard, then shuffle your library. You know, so we have a lot of low power creatures because of our phantoms, so we get to bring all our phantoms back. And of course, any other creature cards that ended up there over the course of the game, we can bring 1 or 2 of those back depending on the power. Ramp spells: Cultivate, Farseek, Grow from the Ashes. Hour of Promise gets us 2 of any land that we want. Kodama's Reach, and 1 Vuli Acid Moss. We don't see this one too often because it not only tutors out a forest card for us, keep in mind forest card, but also destroys any land that our opponents control. So destroy a land, go get a land. I like the rate of return on that. Rampant Growth. And I also threw in a Safe Right quest to go get a Forest or Plains card. This will go to our hand, of course, but it definitely helps fix our mana. You'll see our land base shortly. Eerie Ultimatum. I love the new ultimatums. 4 of them are really good. The 5th, not so sold on, but we'll see how they all play. But triple black, double green, double white says return any number of permanent cards with different names from our graveyard to the battlefield. Any permanent. So if there's any lands, for example, that make it to the graveyard, we can bring most of those back. So really good stuff here. Final parting. Search our library for 2 cards. One goes to our hand, 1 goes to our graveyard. Find Infinality. Both sides of this card are really flexible. Go on the find side, return 2 creatures from our graveyard to our hand. So one of our mutated creatures dies, we get both parts back. Finality. For 6 mana, it says we may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature we control, then the whole board gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Very powerful effect. Ferric Revival. This one's a little risky, but I definitely see some fun times with this one. For triple Orzhov and 3 generic, each player returns each creature card in their graveyard to play from -1/-1 counter on it. So sure, let's have some fun with that. And that is the deck. Let's look at our lands here. I've got a large variety of lands, and you'll see why shortly. So Ash Barrens for the basic land cycling. Bajuka Bog, Bonder's Enclave. Again, we're going to see a lot of this card in Commander. Playing the Plainland, so Brushland, Caves of Koilos. City of Rastamps for any of our colors. Command Tower, same deal. Fabled Passage prices are coming down because of the Challenger decks. Expect the price to go back up, so get those Challenger decks or get your copies of Fabled Passage while the prices are down. Field of the Dead. Hey, it gives us zombie tokens, and we have so many different lands that, hey, we can get, well, you can use these tokens as other mutate targets if we need them. I am playing 7 forests, most prominent basic land because of our wrap spells. Also playing the Karoo lands, so Rot Farm, Guild Mage's Forum. Add 1 mana of any color. If that mana is spent on a multicolored creature spell, including Mutate, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Indatha Triome. Love the Triomes. Of course, they're already expected to be pretty valuable land, so keep an eye out for that. Isolated Chapel comes into play untapped unless we control a plains, or as long as we control a plains or a swamp. We've got plenty of those. Karn's Bastion for the Proliferate. Llanowar Wastes, Painland for black-green. Murmuring Bosk. This is a forest that comes in untapped. Enters the battlefield tapped unless we reveal a tree folk. We don't have a tree folk, unfortunately, but it is a forest. We can tap it for green at no pain, or we can tap it for white-black with one pain. Orzhov Basilica. We got 4 plains. Sandstep Citadel. We are playing a lot of tap lands, but we're also playing a lot of color fixing, so take it as you will. Silesian Sanctuary, of course. Sun Petal Grove. And there's untapped if we control a forest or a plains. 4 swamps, a Temple Garden for the Shockland, and lastly a Woodland Cemetery. And that is Nethroi, Apex of Death, also known as Violante. And before we go, I do want to show off one other thing. Because right before Ikoria was spoiled, I had presented a mono-white Kenrith deck, and I wanted to go back to that for a second, as since that recording, obviously there were a few other cool cards for that deck that were spoiled, including Zirda the Dawnwaker. So maybe let's just remind everyone what Kenrith did. We all know Kenrith, of course. And we all know that I was doing the mono-white theme. But I've since added the Composite Golem combo. Because, hey, with Composite Golem, it costs 6 mana to put him into play, but then we can sacrifice him to add 5 to our mana pool. So you got Composite Golem, and you've got Zirda, which reduces the cost of activated abilities by 2. And look at Kenrith's last ability here. So basically what happens is, as long as we have the other combo pieces in play, we can sacrifice our artifact creature in order to get Wooburg. Zirda, of course, reduces the cost of abilities by 2, so for a black and 2 generic, we put that creature right back in. So we're actually accumulating 2 mana every cycle. The only color we're obliged to spend is black. That means that we can gain infinite life. You can put infinite +1/+1 counters, or hey, target player draws a card. We simply force all opponents to draw 100 cards each and mill them out that way. Obviously, make sure that there's no flashing in Labman shenanigan thing going on when you do that, but you can. So we kind of added that to the deck since my last presentation of it. And I have actually added all of the applicable triomes to the deck. Because, hey, they're all planes. So that is what I wanted in this deck. And I had also added the Bonder's Enclave, although for whatever reason it's down here instead of up here. I think I added it before the program fully updated with all of that. So yeah, those are the adds I have made to Kenrith as a result of Ikoria. Something I do plan on doing, I'm tentatively calling it Revised Edition, and I'm going to start going back to some of my older deck techs and see what updates we can do now. Some of them date back 4 or 5 years. I tend not to take apart decks. So, for example, Shu Yun was my first deck tech, and I still run him to this day. So, expect to see some revised edition decks coming shortly. There have been a lot of changes to Shu Yun. There have been a lot of changes to Muldrofa. A lot of new synergies I've come up with for some of my other builds as well. So consider this my test run of Revised Edition. With that in mind, I'm going to sign off here, capital G, and we will see you all again next time.